Welcome back, everybody. It is ROBO-D, and we're back with another Marvel Champions news video. Today, we got a exciting new reveal from Fantasy Flight Games. On their website, they did a live stream, and they released a new preview article. One for Jessica Jones, coming in the Hero Wave after Fear No Evil releases. And surprisingly, they revealed pretty much everything about Jessica Jones. And I got everything here laid out that we saw in the article today. And we're going to go over it and kind of explain what we're working with here. Now, we are here in Tabletop Simulator. If you are excited to get on and play with Jessica Jones, do some deck building with her in Tabletop Simulator, unfortunately, she has not been officially released here in Hitch's Table. This is just a preview cards, so I just imported these directly from Fantasy Flight Games so I could show them here in all their glory and high definition images. So sorry about that, but we will get her soon enough, and I can't wait, honestly. To be honest, she is a hero I don't really care about. I don't hate her by any means, but she just isn't my cup of tea, you know. But the card art here is fantastic. I absolutely love it. And mechanically speaking, oh my god, we got a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with her identity card here. We'll start on her alter ego side. Jessica Jones. What are we working with here? We got a 6 hand size hero with 11 hit points and 4 recovery. Oh my goodness, this is actually pretty good. For, you know, just base stats, this is pretty good. Above average hand size, or excuse me, above average hit points and above average recovery. Pretty good. But what else does she got? She's got the civilian trait here, which there is some interactions with this with other cards. Not a whole lot, but there is one that we're getting ready to get in Jessica Jones' hero pack that might change the game on that. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But for now, civilian is a pretty good trait to have. Not bad at all. As far as her traits on this side, she's got incognito mode. This is an action that all it says is change to your hero form. You cannot change back to alter ego form this phase. Alright, this right here is probably, in my opinion, what makes her so good. This does not count against your once per turn flip. So if you are in hero form, you could flip down to alter ego, recover, do whatever you want to do, and then use this action to flip back. That is actually kind of insane. Like, just without looking at her identity cards or anything else about her, that one part is just absolutely insane. I think that makes her, like, at least just on its own, that makes her just so good, you know. But we'll go into more later on why that is really good for her, not just by itself. Like, I mean, having free access to your alter ego is amazing, but for her specifically, that is pretty good. Like, makes her amazing. As far as what else is written here, we have a setup ability here. All it says is put the alias investigations support into play. And that is this card right here. We will go over that in just a moment. This is also a busted card. Jessica Jones, what you're gonna see when we start going through her identity cards is she is kind of a powerhouse. And so let's flip over to her hero form so you can take a look at that. And right off the bat, in her hero form, I actually really love the card art here. This is beautiful stuff right here. But right off the bat, her stat line is really good. 3 thwart, 2 attack, and 1 defense. That is something. That is something. Really and truthfully, having next to nothing for defense is preferable. And putting it to your other stats is just great. I mean, really, you don't want to hard defense most cases. You'll usually use an ally to chump block or whatever. But putting that one defense you'd have had otherwise into thwart, that is amazing. So she has a really, really good stat line here. And her hero text is pretty good too. Defender. Trait. I like that. It looks like we're gonna get some more cards that interact with this trait. So I like to see that. But her hero ability here is gather evidence. You have a response after you use a basic power. Place one evidence counter on alias investigations. This could mean anything. You could thwart, attack, or defend, and you're going to put a evidence counter on your alias investigations, which it's this card right here. And really and truly, that's what you want to do. Jessica Jones, mentioned in the article, has a alternate win condition of sorts, and it revolves around this card right here. And let's go ahead and kind of get into that right quick. So, alias investigations, this is a permanent support. It can't be discarded through any means. It stays in play for the entirety of the game. So what does it do? After a side scheme is defeated, you can exhaust this card, then place 2 evidence counters here. Then you may remove evidence counters from here equal to the villain's remaining hit points to defeat the villain's current stage. That right there is amazing. For a lot of scenarios, this card could single-handedly win you the game. So you could use this in a lot of different ways, but I think probably the most, probably most optimal way to use this is to kind of just build up the evidence counters here. Just start stacking them up, then get you a side scheme in play towards when you're ready to go, defeat it, and then once you do so, you're gonna exhaust this and when the villain is in stage 2 and just win the game. I think that's kind of insane busted. The caveat here being that you do need a side scheme in play and you need to defeat it to actually activate this ability, but that is not going to really be a problem for her. And we'll get into that here in just a minute. We'll get into that. But other final notes here for Jessica Jones' identity card and relating to alias investigations and stuff like that. She does have a 5 hand size in her hero form, so pretty basic stuff here. But she's very, very good as far as, we got stat line and recovery concerned, and then it's just a hero ability paired with her alter ego ability is just amazing. Something you can really do with her is if you wanted to be in hero form, you could sit here, play, you want to play your hero events or whatever, things that require you to be in hero form, and then flip down to alter ego. You might want to recover or use an alter ego card and then use this action, flip right back up. That's so good. Like, if you like flipping down to alter ego but are just worried about getting schemed out on, you never will with her. It's just it's kind of insane. So yeah, I kind of also put these kind of in order from what we've seen them in. So going for her card list, she's got 16 cards in her identity specific deck. An extra one here being for alias investigations, because this is a setup permanent support card. A lot of heroes kind of have this sort of deal, like Rogue, and then Wolverine with his claws. They all have these permanent sort of setup ability cards. So to compensate for losing kind of a card in your identity deck, they give you an extra one here. So let's go through it. Luke Cage. This is her signature ally. He is a 3-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 3 hit points and takes 2 consequential damage for each of his abilities. He comes in with a toughness card, and his action is you can exhaust him, deal 1 damage to him, and then give him a tough status card. I don't really... I think he's a good ally, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's the most impactful card in her identity deck. Definitely just on his own, good stat line here. You get minimum two activations out of him before he gets discarded. I think he's really good stat line wise. Not too expensive either, for what you get out of him. Just the thing about him though is you do have to exhaust him to get that tough status card on, which is kind of not the greatest thing ever, but he's not a bad card. It's just not as strong as some of the cards we're going to be seeing here. So that's Luke Cage. She's got 2 copies of Big Mistake in her deck. This is a attack event that is 1 cost, and you can deal 3 damage to an enemy, and then you may remove 1 evidence counter from Alias Investigation to deal 2 damage deal an additional 2 damage, and you can either get Overkill or Piercing. This is pretty nice. 1 cost for 3, potentially 5 damage, and really all you have to do is remove 1 alias or 1 counter from the Alias Investigations. That's not bad. That's really not bad. It is kind of bad in a way that this is her only like attack event. So something that might be a problem for her is she might have a problem dealing with like big minions. But other than that, I mean, this is a pretty solid event here just on its own. So that's that. Then we have Breakthrough here. This is a 0 cost event that after an evidence counter is placed on Alias Investigations, you can ready your identity. And then after you do that, you shuffle this card in your deck. This card right here is actually really insane. So you're already going to get a bare minimum 1 counter per turn, as long as you're not stunned or you know, otherwise. So that being said, this card is always going to be, you know, something you're going to be able to use. And the fact that you shuffle this into your deck instead of, you know, discarding it like any other card, that's kind of neat. I think it kind of balances itself out that there's only 1 copy here. But this is really strong, man. This is really strong. Getting more activations is insane. Oh, and since you're doing that, I do have to really point out that her Gather Evidence ability is not limited to once per turn or phase or anything like that. You can do this as many times as you can activate. So you don't just get 1 counter on your Alias Investigations. You know, your win condition, you get 2 from this, basically. So this is an amazing card. I love this card. Then we have 3 copies of Snooping Around. So this is an alter ego action thwart, and remember, she's got free access to alter ego, so really that doesn't matter. But this is a thwarting event. For 0 cost, you can remove force threat from a scheme and place 2 evidence counters on your Alias Investigations. Then you discard the top card of the encounter deck. If that card is a minion or side scheme, you reveal it. 0 cost to remove 4 threat and put 2 more counters on your win condition is insane. Now, I did just mention that her biggest weakness is probably going to be a big minion. So potentially bringing out a big minion is probably not the best strategy most of the times. But come on, I think this is a great event. I think this is really, really good. And honestly, getting a side scheme out might not be the worst thing ever, since you need it to activate Alias Investigations. A lot of side schemes come out with, you know, 2 per player or 3 threat, she's got the thwarting to take care of those if they come out. So really, I don't think getting a side scheme is the worst thing here. The minion part's probably the worst thing ever. And if you're running into some minion heavy decks, this could probably not be the best card to play. But otherwise, I think this is fantastic. You got 3 copies of this, and it's 0 cost. That's crazy. Moving on, she also comes in with her own side scheme. She needs a side scheme to proc her own win condition, so they gave her one. And this one right here is pretty interesting. So piecing it all together, it does not count against the player side scheme limit, and then when you defeat the side scheme, you draw 3 cards. That is pretty nice, and it scales really, it doesn't scale at all, so it just comes in with 6 threat. Anybody can thwart it. You could potentially thwart this out in 1 turn. With her, maybe a buddy, or, you know, if you got a lot of minions on the field, you could thwart this out in 1 turn and draw 3 cards. That's amazing. Also, it's 0 cost, so you're not really losing a lot to play it. I think really that's kind of going to be the biggest takeaway from Jessica Jones. You're already kind of looking at her cards here. Nothing in her deck besides Luke Cage is really all that expensive. A lot of her cards just have 0 cost to them, or just 1. So I think that's kind of busted. That's really busted. Oh, also, this does not have the victory tag like a lot of side schemes have. So when you discard this after defeating it, it goes to your discard pile. So I mean, come on, you could potentially do this multiple times a game, draw 3 cards. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Alright, moving on to the next set of cards. We got supports and some upgrades here. We'll start in with Calling in Favors. This is a 1 cost support that while you're in alter ego form, you can take this action, remove 2 evidence counters from the alias investigations, and exhaust this card. Then you can search your deck for an ally and play it as if it were in your hand, and then reduce its cost by 2. That is really, really good. Now, obviously, you're not going to be spamming this every turn, because you really kind of want to get counters onto this card. You don't really want to be removing them, but allies are the most powerful cards in the game. So just being able to, you know, at will summon one from the deck is pretty powerful and not really costing you much of anything, really. This would probably be weaker if, you know, she didn't have her super busted alter ego ability to just flip back up to hero form. But because she has that, this is really, really strong. I really, really like this card. This is a really, really good card. This will make leadership decks pop off. As if they already don't, but, you know, besides the point. This is really, really fantastic card here. Moving on, we have 3 upgrade cards right here. We have the 4K digital camcorder. You can exhaust this card while in alter ego form and choose a non-elite minion. Then remove X evidence counters from alias investigations, where X is equal to 2 less than the minion's remaining hit points, and then discard that minion. This is really good to help her deal with minions. I kind of already noted that she's going to be weak against minions and minion swarm. So this kind of helps her get rid of minions. And the key word here is that this card doesn't defeat a minion. It just discards them. I think that's kind of interesting here. Because there are a lot of minions in the game that have effects when you defeat them. And this doesn't defeat them, this just discards them. So, just to get rid of a minion on demand, basically. Sounds good to me. And honestly, this card can be free if you're using this against minions that don't really have a lot of hit points. I mean, if you use this against a 2 HP minion, which there are a lot of, by the way, you don't have to remove anything from this just to discard that minion. Meaning you can save your activation for something entirely different. You don't have to hit a minion or whatever. You can just use this card. I think that's pretty strong. Then we have circumstantial evidence. After an enemy is defeated, you can exhaust circumstantial evidence and then place one evidence counter on alias investigations. Like I was just saying though, this card's really good too in minion heavy things, but it will not work with your digital camcorder. Like we said, you're not defeating the minion when you use your digital camcorder, you're just discarding them. So you won't actually proc this card right here. But otherwise, if you're in a minion heavy encounter, this will help you a lot. Kind of help you get your evidence up even more. Last and finally, we have, as far as her upgrades are concerned here. Oh, well, we got another upgrade, but there's we got a gap right here, and I'll explain that here in just a moment. We have leather jacket here. This is a 2-cost upgrade that gives Jessica Jones 2 defense, and then after you defend, you can place 1 evidence counter on alias investigations. This is really interesting too, for a couple different reasons. First of all, this makes her stat line even more busted. 323 is really good, but also this card does not exhaust itself when you do this, and it doesn't matter if you use a basic defense or use another card to defend. So I think she might pop off in protection just with this card alone. This is a good upgrade card right here. So you could potentially proc this card multiple times a turn, just because it doesn't exhaust itself. It's pretty nice. Then we got a 2-card gap right here. These are the 2 cards we don't know what they are. Leather Jacket is 13 out of 16 here, and then these would be 14, 15, and then Stakeout is 16 out of 16. So we don't know what these are, but we do know that these are upgrades. So whatever these are probably going to be really good too. At least I would hope they are. And then our last card for the Jessica Jones set, we have Stakeout. So this is kind of a weird card. It is a 0-cost upgrade, and if it is in your play area, attach it to a non-permanent encounter side scheme, and then when a character thwarts that attached scheme, that thwart removes 2 additional threat. Then if that thwart defeats the attached scheme, place 2 evidence counters on alias investigations. That is pretty nice. So basically you can play this card at any time. You just pop it down, and then if a side scheme you want to put it on comes into play, you just attach it there, as in just as an action or whatever. So I think this is pretty nice. Again, I think a lot of these cards are just really good because they are cheap or just basically free, and this one is no different. It is a 0-cost card, and you can play it whenever, so you don't have to have a side scheme out. You can just put this out, wait for a side scheme, and then put it on there. This is really good if you have a lot of people that are going to be thwarting it. You can get rid of some side schemes really easy because of this card right here. So overall, her kit is super good. Without even knowing these 2 cards, I think she's super solid. Definitely really strong in solo play, and maybe a little weaker in multiplayer, but still a very formidable hero here. I've already been kind of theory crafting some decks that are going to be, kind of going around with her and trying, to do some pretty crazy stuff. But besides Jessica Jones, I know this was the most important part of the article, but we also look at some cards that were revealed that aren't specific to her, that are coming in her hero pack. We know that her hero pack is going to be Justice themed, so her kind of cards kind of reflect that. Let's go over the 3 basic cards that we saw. We'll start right with the Joys of Life, which I think might be the most powerful card shown off in her hero pack. So the Joys of Life is an alliance card with a 0 cost to play, and then as an action you can choose one of the following: Exhaust a civilian alter ego, ready a hero or ally, or you can exhaust a hero or ally, ready a civilian or alter ego. This is pretty nice. So the alliance part of this means that when you play an alliance card, anybody can help you do it. So if you had another civilian ally, or maybe your teammates have an ally that they're not going to exhaust this turn, maybe they're going to chump block with them and don't want to, deal that last bit of consequential damage to them, they can just exhaust their ally and you can get a free ready, or ready another civilian traded hero. Now we have to go back to Jessica Jones here. She is a civilian, so this card works really, really good with her. Really, really good, and it's not restricted in any way. You can play 3 copies of this. This is going to be pretty much a staple card with any Jessica Jones deck. Super, super good. And then we have the Unbreakable Bond. This is a team-up card with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And as a hero action, you can thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme, and then heal a total of 3 damage among Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. This is okay. I think this is pretty alright. I think it would be a little better if Luke Cage was a little bit of a better ally. He's not bad. I keep wanting to say, I keep making it seem like he's bad. He's just not the best ally ever. I really don't think I would play him all that often. I would probably, kind of take advantage of calling in favors to get him out, but I don't think he's the best ally ever. But this right here is a pretty okay card. If you're going to be using Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't play it. It's pretty nice. And then last for our basic cards we saw is Defend Our City. This is a player side scheme. It comes with 1 hinder, and you have to be a defender to play this card. And it has the victory trait on it, so when it's defeated, it goes away. When it's defeated, each player may search their deck and discard pile for a team-up card and add it to their hand. Until the end of the phase, reduce the cost to play each team-up card by 1. So the idea here that they were going for is you'd play this card probably pretty early on, thwart it, then you get your Unbreakable Bond, and then play it, with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. It's okay. Team-up cards are not exactly the most powerful things or the most common cards, but I can see some scenarios where this is pretty nice. It's not a bad side scheme. It's just okay and possibly situational. And then we got some Justice cards, and we got quite a bit of Justice cards here. So let's start off with these 2 allies here. We got Captain Marvel and another version of Squirrel Girl. So Captain Marvel here is a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 3 attack. Really good stat line here. And 3 hit points. So after Captain Marvel enters play, you can discard the top 4 cards of your deck. If you discard a energy resource, remove 2 threat from a scheme. If you discard more than 1, you can also confuse an enemy. This is a pretty decent effect. Kind of not the greatest thing ever, because you don't really know what's on your top of your deck unless you're playing with heroes or someone that can scry the top. But I think overall this is a pretty decent ally. 4 cost for 2 thwart, 3 attack is not bad at all. Not bad at all. And next we have Squirrel Girl. This is kind of in line with the other Squirrel Girl. It's got 2 costs, and it's 1 thwart, 1 attack, and it's an Avenger with 2 hit points. But she's got a different effect here. After you play Squirrel Girl from your hand, you can place 1 squirrel counter on here for each card in your hand, so a maximum of 4. And then you remove 1 squirrel counter from here, and then remove 1 threat from a scheme. Not bad effect here. Ideally, you would want to play her very early on in your turn so you can get the most counters on her. But this is essentially, you know, a free thwarter for several turns if you get this off, you know, at the ideal moment here. It also needs to be mentioned that this action can be taken multiple times. So if you need to just get 4 threat off a scheme, you could just do that right off the get-go. And I think that's pretty nice. And then next we have a strategy session here. This is an event card that is 1 cost. And I think this is a really, really, really good card. It's got 2 different actions here, depending on what form you're in. Alter Ego action, you can choose a player. They can search their deck for a player side scheme and add it to their hand. This really just helps you get out all your neat side schemes. And beyond Jessica Jones, I really think this will be good for damn Cable. I mean, he really loves his side schemes. This just helps you get them to your hand, and it's very, very cheap to do so. Alternatively, you could just remove 3 threat from a player side scheme if you are in hero form. I think this is a really good card. I definitely will be playing around with this card. I think it's super cool. Next, we have a couple upgrades. We have Entrapment. This is a preparation card that is 1 cost and can only be played max per 1 player. And then, as an alter ego response, after the villain schemes, you can change to hero form and discard this card. Deal damage to the villain equal to the amount of threat placed by that activation. So this is a little risky of a card, but it might be pretty nice. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, if you know the villain's going to scheme for a crap ton, I mean, you could deal a lot of damage just with this card. I think it's a little situational, but it could potentially deal some damage here. It kind of sucks though, it's kind of after the fact, so you do have to let them put this threat on the scheme before, you know, you deal this damage. It's not like some other cards that flip you back into hero form before they scheme. So benefits wise, I don't think it's really going to be all that good for Jessica herself, because she's not really going to be staying in alter ego, but for other heroes it might be pretty good. And then we have Grapple Launcher. This is a 2-card restricted item card. As a hero action, you can discard this card, and you can make a basic thwart without exhausting. And then for this thwart, your hero gains +1 thwart and ignores the patrol keyword and any crisis icon in play. Not a bad upgrade here. It kind of sucks that you have to discard this card to do it, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I think it's just kind of okay. And last and finally, we have Run Them to the Ground. This is a Justice Victory player side scheme, again with 0 cost. It comes in with 4 per player threat, and then when it's defeated, you can resolve each of the following. You skip the next villain phase, deal each player 1 face down encounter card immediately, and then the villain cannot take any damage until the start of the next unskipped villain phase. This is really an interesting card here, and I think this one might be pretty damn good. It does come in with a lot of threat, but being able to skip a villain phase is really, really, really good. Yes, you're going to get a face down encounter card, but you're skipping the villain phase. So you're essentially going to be waiting on that encounter card that you're going to be dealt. And this gives you some room to breathe a little bit. Yeah, the villain won't be able to take any damage, but you're going to... the ideal situation to play this in would be when the threat on the main scheme is getting a little out of hand, or if there's a lot of things that the villain has in play that you need to deal with before the villain activates again. So, like I said, threat on the main scheme, if there's a lot of minions in play, or a lot of side scheming in play, or villain attachments, this card right here can give you a lot of that breathing room, and you can kind of game it a little bit. You can have, you can deal all your damage out, then threat out this scheme, and you don't really have to worry about that damage part. So I think this is a pretty good side scheme. Not something you would play in every single deck, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Definitely a good safety cushion card here. And yeah, that's pretty much everything we saw with the Jessica Jones preview article here. So I'll close with this. I think Jessica Jones, when she drops, is going to be a fantastic hero. If we were kind of looking at this on a tier list scale, I think she is no less than an A tier hero. And I've been kind of saying that in every aspect here, as far as like multiplayer, solo play, two-handed, all that stuff. I think bare minimum she's a tier hero. In solo play, definitely going to be an S tier hero. She is really, really good. Really, really good. I like what I'm seeing here with these identity cards. She is super, super good. I don't, like we said, we don't know what these last two are, but I really don't think it matters all that much. They can only be good, is what I'm saying. They can't make her kit any worse, because her kit is really busted. So I'm really excited for her. I previously wasn't really all that excited, but now kind of seeing her cards and all that, I'm kind of hyped up, and I hope all of you are as hyped up as I am. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. Kind of let me know what you think about Jessica Jones. Kind of what you think these two cards might be. Yeah, and what you think of her as far as how powerful she's gonna be. I'd really like to know. And if you like this little breakdown video, please let me know by hitting that like, subscribe button, all that good stuff. And we will see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.